oftentimes what happens is we then enter into perimenopause. So I work with a lot of women in peri who are having really intense symptoms. So intense mood swings, right? Insomnia, hair loss, all of the things. And they're really starting to realize like, oh, this isn't just, symptoms that we're meant to put up with, right? Like I think a lot of women are told, we're sold this myth that like being in a woman's body is naturally horrible and a nuisance and you're going to have to put up with it and cover it up and numb it. And more women are realizing that actually this is my body's way of saying, hey, I need you to listen.
Welcome to the Menopause Mindset Podcast, the place to get some answers and feel supported along this often a bumpy journey. Many people sail through menopause, but many people don't. And so my guests and I are here to motivate you and inspire you so that you can make menopause a happier transition for yourself and for your loved ones. I'm Sally Garozzo, an award-winning clinical hypnotherapist, a menopause educator, and I can't wait to share my passion about wellness and how we navigate these changes and transitions. So come on then, let's dive in. So my wonderful guest today is Veronica Rottman. Veronica is a trauma-informed womb healing and holistic pelvic care practitioner. She's also a birth doula trainer, a yoga teacher, and womb healing guide. Her specialities include nervous system regulation, polyvagal theory, somatic attachment, complex trauma, menopausal wellness, and the birthing process. Her signature offering is called Soma School, and she offers this via one-to-one sessions, immersions, workshops, and retreats. So, Veronica, thank you so much for joining us today. A really warm welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sally. It's such a delight to be here and to talk to you. Thanks.
Oh, well, I came across you on the Trauma Rewired podcast, and it was one of those moments where I was like, I need to find a really good podcast episode that's going to really stimulate me and get me engaged. And I love that podcast anyway. And I was scrolling through wondering, it's so good, isn't it? Wondering out of all the many episodes, which one to choose. And I chose yours, all about pelvic health and sexual issues and, trauma in that area. And, I thought, right, let's go for it, because I am having issues myself in that area. And it really, oh my God, did it wake me up. It was just a paradigm shifting episode. I got a bit more than I bargained for, I think. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today, just to bring you into my world with the people that follow me. So can you tell us first, Veronica, how did you come to be in this really specialized line of work?
Yeah. It's always like, where do I start with that? Because I can go way, way back, right? As a kid growing up, my mom really raised me to have a reverence for bodies, but especially the female body. So I was really excited to have my first cycle, right? And I loved birth. I loved hearing my birth story. And at the same time that I had this perspective on bodies and how powerful they are, I also had a lot of trauma. So I have a really high ACE score. If you're not familiar with that is, it is adverse childhood experiences. It's like a score they use to measure, right, the impact of trauma on children. And so it really gave me this perspective of how trauma exists in the body, because I straight out of college started teaching yoga, got into birth work, was trained in somatic experiencing more recently, and that's really my main focus. And if I go back in time again into like my college years, I had a moment where I realized and I told my friend, I said, one day I'm going to write a book about how our body is actually driving all of our responses, our reactions, our issues in relationships. Like, I just intuitively knew, like, this, it has to be our body. And it turns out now, thanks to people like Dr. Stephen Porges, Dr. Peter Levine, right? We actually have mounting evidence that this is true, and we can kind of scream it from the mountaintops. And so I work every day with people, whether it's in one-on-one sessions or immersions, to really get to the root of symptoms that show up in our psycho-emotional and our physiological health.
Mm.
And it's life-changing work. I feel really rewarded to be able to hold space for such transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, beautiful. So you said the word somatic experiencing. What
Mm-hmm.
might a session look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a great question. So, what I'm doing as a somatic practitioner, somatic experiencing practitioner, is guiding you to learn the language of your nervous system, of your body, which is sensation. We are primarily living in our minds and are overly habituated to process through the cognitive realm, right? When we have an emotion, the first thing we do, right, we go into story. We know why we feel the way we do. We know who was involved. We know what happened from point A, from point B, and we might ruminate on this kind of in an endless feedback loop to no avail, right? We just are kind of caught up in all of those details and trying to make sense of what needs to actually be felt. So, an actual emotion or sensation or experience shows up in the body as sensation or sensations. And when we feel them, this actually gives the nervous system a chance to digest them. Whereas if we're caught in our minds, everything else, the story is just extra. And it's actually perpetuating the loop in the body that is causing dysregulation. So, yes, talking is involved, touch is involved, movement might be involved, but mainly I'm helping people to feel safe with feeling those sensations and helping to metabolize what needs to be, yeah, digested in the nervous system in order to free up that energy and reclaim it as life force vitality.
Oh, I love that because I actually just wrote down today, if you're tired all the time, it might be because you're using your energy to suppress your vital force, aka
Absolutely.
your underlying emotions.
Yeah.
So if you're tired all the time, that's because you're trying too hard to kind of keep it all down. And what you're saying is with the work that you're doing, you're allowing it to be there.
Yes, in little bits at a time, we're allowing it to be there. You're exactly right, Sally. And trauma, which, people like to divide it into like big T, little t trauma, like we all have it to some degree. And when we don't feel it and process it in the body, and we're pushing it down, maybe we're numbing it away, maybe we're distracting ourselves on our phones or with TV or food or alcohol, right? Then it stays there. It stays in our body. And this means that our nervous system is exerting itself. We are exerting ourselves even when we don't need to.
Okay.
So
So it's like we're on a
trauma,
treadmill all the time.
exactly. So that energy that is caught up in what happened before stays in our system on this feedback loop, trying to complete the circuit, trying to move through what wants to be felt, but we're
Yeah.
bypassing it. But it stays there, and it might cause us to, scrunch up our shoulders towards our ears even when we don't need to. That's extra energy that we're losing, right? Or it might cause us to tense up all of our muscles and not rest on the back of our chair, even though we could rest on the back of our chair, right? And yeah, that's going to lead to exhaustion, among many other things, right?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is the holding pattern. There's a holding pattern that
Yeah.
we tend to acquire.
Mm-hmm.
It's like holding on for dear life. But
Mm-hmm.
what are we holding on for? What are we? what we're holding on to exactly. It's like we're holding on to something that we've been told is, or we're holding on so that we can avoid
Yep.
experiencing something which is so natural, so normal. Yeah, but we're
Yeah.
avoiding it because we're told that's what we need to do.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do not live in a world where we are encouraged to be with ourselves and be in our body. And this is to our own detriment. Like it really is such a block on our wellness. And it also makes people, I think, feel like why am I failing? Like why am I always feeling anxious, feeling depressed, feeling these physiological symptoms? Why doesn't my immune system work properly, right? And with all systems of the body, what ties them together is the autonomic nervous system, which is what we're working with in somatic experiencing, in somatics, right? And if we want those systems of the body to thrive, we really need to tend to what is stuck in that loop in our nervous system. So if we have experiences from the past that maybe we've like cognitively reframed and we've thought about and we've gone, okay, I'm over that, right? I've just decided that that's over with and I'm moving on. That's not how it works in our body, actually, because the trauma isn't in the event, it is inside of our autonomic nervous system. And those sensations are kind of looping and waiting to be processed. And until we get into our bodies, they're going to stay there, kind of taking up a lot of capacity that we could be, using for what we want in life. Yeah.
So how does all of this holding and not processing, how might that affect someone's experience of menopause
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
what you've
Such a
seen in
great
your
question.
work?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I want to kind of go back, if it's okay, to my own story and how my trauma
Sure.
really manifested. So, of course, my trauma showed up in emotional, right, dysregulation, but it primarily physically showed up in my cycle. So I had premenstrual dysphoric disorder, uh, really intense cramping, heavy bleeding. I couldn't take the pill. It made everything worse. No one could tell me like what was wrong. I had been tested for endo, but my doctor didn't use proper testing. So I was really kind of isolated and felt really alone until I came across the work of both cycle syncing and nervous system trauma resolution. Those were my two sort of pathways back to loving my cycle again, like a diminishment of all of my symptoms. And so if I
Wow.
hadn't done that, oftentimes what happens is we then enter into perimenopause. So I work with a lot of women in peri who are having really intense symptoms. So intense mood swings, right? Insomnia, hair loss, all of the things. And they're really starting to realize, like, oh, this isn't just, um, symptoms that we're meant to put up with, right? Like, I think a lot of women are told, we're sold this myth that, like, being in a woman's body is naturally horrible and a nuisance, and you're going to have to put up with it and cover it up and numb it. And more women are realizing that actually, this is my body's way of saying, hey, I need you to listen. Like, I need you to actually listen and slow down, because at the root of any kind of reproductive health issue is uh, a nervous system that is stuck in dysregulation. And that's going to carry
Right.
over into menopause as well. So, from like more of a physiological perspective, if my autonomic nervous system is holding on to experiences, trauma, overwhelm, chronic stress from the past or the present, this is going to trigger my HPA axis or my hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis to secrete more stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, right? If cortisol and adrenaline are being prioritized, this is going to deprioritize the healthy hormones that we need in perimenopause and menopause to be able to thrive. So
Yeah.
that's really going to impact my ability to function. And I think what I see a lot of people doing is there's a hyper focus on women's hormones. And it's not
Yeah.
that that's wrong. I know that like hormone replacement therapy and things like that can be really beneficial. But so many women are going into peri and meno with a lot of trauma that they haven't addressed. And no one is telling them about it. Everyone's telling them, oh, it's just stress. Just get rid of your
Yeah.
stressors. First of all, who can actually just fully get rid of their stressors? I would like to
Yeah.
know. And second of all,
Exactly.
yeah, second of all, that's only going to help a little bit if the trauma is still there. So I
Yeah.
really love helping my clients in peri and meno really tend to their nervous system so that they can move through these rites of passage with a sense of agency, with a sense of the power and the wisdom that we're meant to step into, right?
Yeah, so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so true. You know, I like what you've said. It's almost like this, if we're constantly firefighting the stress response, trying to meditate, trying to exercise, trying to, I don't know, eat healthy, all the things that are quite helpful, which go some of the way to regulating the nervous system, but they're
Yeah.
tools, and they're
Yeah.
tools, which are great tools. But if we're not looking at the trauma, which
Mm-hmm.
is sort of feeding the stress, because it's like that hidden trauma, isn't it, that Gabor Mate talks about, that the
Yes.
hidden trauma is the stuff that we're not necessarily looking at on a daily basis, the stuff, it's like the
Right.
code, the program that's running the show, that we
Absolutely.
really need to pick apart
Yeah.
with the work that, go on.
Mhm. Yeah, and I really think that peri and meno are such important rites of passage, and they're going to really show us what is hidden. So
Yeah.
for anyone listening who's not in peri or meno, like this is a really good time, right, to maybe tend to your nervous system as well and get to the root of any, emotional experiences that you haven't processed, because they will show up, and our body is so intelligent. It will try to get our attention through these symptoms, especially as we move through peri and meno. And if we're willing to slow
Yeah.
down and actually listen, instead of going, there's something wrong with me, I'm broken, I hate this, right? And all of those feelings are valid, by the way. But this misconception that we're meant to suffer through these issues, through these, rites of passage, is something that I feel really uh, sad about, I guess, because, right, in other cultures, like in indigenous cultures, there's a belief that women step into more authority in these rites of passage. And how different would it be if we told little girls that, like, when you go through peri and meno, you're going to, like, rise to higher authority and have more wisdom and, right, so much to offer the world and so much power. But if all we're told is like, oh, the aging woman is, you know, invisible and undervalued and broken, it's really going to make it so much harder to move through these transitions.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, since I have been working with the nervous system a lot more myself, oh my God, I'm feeling so much better, so different, so
Mm-hmm.
calm, so regulated. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just been, it's actually been a lovely journey to be on, rather than this kind of horrific, highly
Yeah.
symptomatic thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just quickly, just tell me, when you are working with someone somatically, because I think the trouble is a lot of people, especially in the Western world, because we're a bit buttoned up, we think of this sort of somatic healing, this pelvic healing, as
Mm-hmm.
something very woo and something sort of slightly witchy, with kind of hippie connotations. And they might imagine that
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of stuff happening that they don't want to happen. Like, I don't know, everyone's sitting around in a circle touching themselves or something. I don't know. What is
Yeah.
actually happening, when you're working with someone on a one-to-one basis.
Mm-hmm. So I totally understand why someone might turn away from what feels like too much woo, too much spiritual, and I want to honor that. And I think that that can also be, and I'm biased, I realize that, subconsciously, if we know we're going to have to feel something that we've been avoiding for a long time, like let's say there is perhaps some deep grief in my system that I've just been pushing down, or anger or fear, right? These are things that are highly charged, and there's a reason why we avoid them, of course. But if I'm going, oh, that's woo, I'm going to label that as other, as weird, as too out there. Just getting curious about how perhaps this is you subconsciously, not consciously, you're avoiding what you don't want to be with, because some of these practices are going to bring that to the surface. But,
Mm,
as they say, the only way out is through. So if we
yeah.
want to actually arrive in a healthy, authentic, fully embodied place, it really means that in little bits at a time, just start. I like to say, like, you're dipping your big toe into the water. If your grief were a body of water, you're just kind of testing it. And that's what we're doing in sessions. What's it like to feel that a little bit at a time versus, extreme catharsis, which just perpetuates dysregulation. So just getting curious about, like, how might I be avoiding something I don't want to be with by deciding that this goes in this box and it's not for me, right?
Yeah.
But really, my work is very much rooted in science. So we're looking at things like the polyvagal theory. We do a lot of nervous system education. And whether or not you want to apply a lens of spirituality to that is up to you. I'm not, waving Palo Santo around in your face. I'm not like, creating something that you're not ready for. It's really more just about being with yourself, being with sensations. And does that lead to spiritual experiences? Absolutely. But I'm not forcing anyone into that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you said about the extreme catharsis, like the sort of
Mhm.
archetypal rebirthing and people wailing. And I've done all that stuff, in my early 30s, as I'm sure you have too. We've all we've all been there. And yeah, it can be even more. You get this sort of like weird endorphin high, don't you, after
You
something
do.
like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Peter
but
Levine
then I
talks
don't
about
know,
that.
afterwards it doesn't feel long term.
Right. Right. It's not helpful in the long term. You're completely correct, Sally. It's like it can seem so powerful from the outside, like, oh wow, this person is clearly having a really big transformation. And I'm not saying that you can't experience that, but if our only go-to is catharsis, is really intense, chaotic experiences, this is us just, right, replicating, matching the imprint of trauma. So trauma is the energy of, one of the ways we define it is too much, too fast, too soon. And so a lot of people are going into their healing and their nervous system is more familiar with, go big or go home, instead of what I'm helping people to do, which is to slow down and be with what's subtle in a gentle, titrated way, so that our nervous system can go, oh, it's safe to go slow. It's safe to feel in little bits at a time,
Yeah.
instead of, really ragey, intense, have freak out sessions. So if that's all we're doing, we're likely just, yeah, copying and pasting our imprint from the past, and really the culture we're in, because the culture we're in says it has to be big, it has to be loud, it has to be intense. Otherwise, it's not important. So lots of misconceptions, I think, about what nervous system trauma resolution really is. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it makes me feel quite sad in a way that we've
Mhm.
abandoned that part of us that really wants the slow, that really
Yeah.
just wants everything to be
Mhm.
easy and slow and nice.
Mhm.
And I think there's a sense of, if it's slow, it's boring, or if it's slow,
Right.
it's
Right.
it's it's not right. It's a failure if we have to operate on a slow level.
Yep.
But it's living rhythmically, isn't it? The planet operates. The heartbeat of the planet is really
Mhm.
slow, and just
Mhm.
when you look at the Schumann resonance and the way that nature rises and falls and blossoms and then shrinks back. It's all done in a very cyclical, easy rhythm that's not pushed.
Yes.
And we've been pushing planet Earth, and look at what's happening to our planet. So
Oh,
humans
yeah.
are doing this. Yeah,
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 it's really, you can zoom out to the macro and even like the micro and see how much it is diminishing and destroying. Like thinking about how much we are stuck on the dopamine hit that comes with so many things, right? But even just being inundated with all of that information on our phones all the time. It's like no wonder we've lost relationship with slowness, with cyclicality, with, right, that rhythm that our bodies and our planet needs to thrive. And I think, in peri and meno, there's such a deep invitation into that. It's really calling you into going inward, slowing down, and women have a deeper physiological need for that. It doesn't mean that male bodies don't need it, right? We all need it, but we have a more direct embodied experience of what it means to need to slow down, need to go gently into what we're processing instead of making it big, and that is a gift. I think people might hear that and go, well, does that make us the weaker sex? Absolutely not. Because you know what, when we do give, when we do expand outward and upregulate more, we really give. It's powerful,
yeah.
especially when we've done the work to slow down when we need to.
Something's just popped into my head that I'd like to ask you about archetypal feminine energy. Now, I know there's a lot of thinking in the tantra world about it shouldn't be binary, embrace your feminine energy, embrace your masculine energy, all this stuff, and I'm not in that world, so I don't really know what the
Yeah.
narrative is. But from your perspective, how do you think about feminine energy?
Yeah. Yeah. So really, the body is the feminine. So when we talk about embodiment, we're going into the subconscious realm. So you can think of like an iceberg, right? The tip of the iceberg is your conscious awareness. And then underneath that is the subconscious. And that's really held in the body. Carl Jung said that. And
Mm,
so when we're doing this work, we are inherently getting more in touch with the feminine, because the feminine is that which exists underneath our conscious awareness. Yet it is driving our thoughts, our reactions, our, right, responses to life are all being driven primarily, vast
mm,
majority of it. I think it's like 95% is being driven by the body, by the subconscious. I
mm,
also think the feminine, it points to how our spiritual power is not externally resourced, it's here, right? So feminine spirituality says that we hold our capacity for transformation, for healing, and I really do believe that.
mm.
And
So it's an
it is
inside job.
exactly. Yeah. Which is something like, you know, and I've done this to teachers in the past where you like pedestalize them and you're like, you hold the answers and resolutions that I need.
Sure.
I really don't do that anymore. And when I don't let people do it to me either, I'm like, this is all you, like only you can do this work. I'm here to guide, right? So that is one part of it that I really believe. And of course, what you said so beautifully, Sally, about the cycles, right, of our bodies and nature, like to me, that really is the feminine.
This episode is brought to you by the Menopause Mindset Hypnosis Collection. It's becoming common knowledge among scientific communities that our thinking can radically affect our body chemistry at a molecular level. Our bodies literally respond to expectations, conditions, and beliefs. This is how the placebo effect works. Dawson Church, the author of The Genie in Your Genes, says, each of us holds the key to a pharmacy containing a dazzling array of healing compounds. Our brains are themselves generating the drugs similar to those that a doctor is prescribing for us. That's why I'm so excited for you to experience my newly revamped and highly innovative hypnosis recordings. There's nothing else as unique as this on the market today. So how would you like to cool your hot flush, ignite your libido, clear your brain fog, release your joints, or even sail through menopause? Well, now you can. Just relax and listen to the 25-minute recording of your choice every day for 30 days and watch the changes kick in. Each recording is just $24.99, or you can get the entire collection for $59.99, which is a saving of £65. But it doesn't stop there. Inside this bundle, I also include my popular Mind Over Menopause Masterclass, where you can learn the mindset hacks to help you have a better menopause transition. And all of these are contained neatly inside the Kajabi app for easy access. Just visit sallygarazzo.com/shop to find out more or make a purchase. I look forward to seeing you inside the Menopause Mindset Hypnosis Collection. This episode is brought to you by my mini course, Create Phenomenal Self-Esteem. This course will help you to reclaim your inner confidence and turn your light all the way up so that you can have more success in every way. Did you know that you can have phenomenal high self-esteem and be a nice person? This mini course gives you maximum results and a roadmap to create phenomenal self-esteem with just the right amount of detail, the right amount of journal prompts, neurobiological technology, and one-to-one support to jumpstart your journey, and all for just the price of £47. This mini course is for you if you can be harsh, hurtful, and critical towards yourself. It's for you if you're crippled by a feeling that nothing changes. And it's for you if your relationships, work, health, and happiness are all taking a bit of a hit. Included in the course is my high self-esteem strategy, which is a 2-part, 6-step strategy delivered to you over 2 weeks. This is a conscious pathway that you can follow for the rest of your life to turn low self-esteem around. It's simple, effective, and enjoyable. It also includes a soaring self-esteem hypnosis recording, because without tapping into the power of the subconscious mind, change rarely occurs. And finally, it includes a one-to-one support session with me, because you're not a robot, frankly. You need nuanced support. Not many online courses give you access to one-to-one help, but I do because I understand the power of validation and accountability. So what are you waiting for? Come and join me. Create phenomenal self-esteem today. Just visit sallygarazzo.com/self-esteem. Yeah, working with nature, Mother Earth. Yeah. Being in tune with that rhythm, that slow rhythm. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about the vagina, if that's okay. I'm sure you'll love that subject. Many women who go through menopause experience vaginal atrophy, painful sex, vaginismus, dry vagina, lack of sensation, and just overall lack of pleasure and inability to sort of feel pleasure, really. And there's an overall kind of shutting downness that happens in the pelvic area. And this was why I loved your podcast, because you really went into some beautiful things that really hit home to me, because I've, let's get honest, I experience vaginal atrophy right now. Sex is really painful, and there is a sort of shutting downness I'm noticing. It's starting to open up as I lean into this work a little bit more, which is great. And the energy between me and my husband is kind of changing, which is fine. But coming from a nervous system perspective, and maybe an attachment perspective as well, why do we shut down this area? What is it? Why does it come up at menopause?
Yeah, there can be so many reasons, and I actually think it starts from a really young age and then can become exacerbated as estrogen levels really plummet in menopause. But from a nervous system perspective, young girls are taught that this is a part of you that is dirty, your period is dirty, your pleasure is not safe to share with the world or to enjoy. We're taught that our pelvis is something to keep hidden, right? And not inhabit. We're taught to leave the pelvic bowl and live from like the heart up, right? We're not taught about our pleasure. We are very undereducated on all of the power that comes with having a pelvis, right? So for women, our center of gravity is our pelvis. It's in our pelvis. And so if you think about that, even just that, when we're not in our pelvic bowl, meaning we have a hard time feeling the
Yeah.
tissues and the structures of the pelvis and really the lower body in general. We're not standing in our center, right? When we're orienting to the world, we are out of our center of gravity, and that can be very disorienting. But I work with people with all sorts of trauma that not only happens right in the pelvis, but also in their relationship to their femininity and their agency in the world. So a lot of boundary ruptures. We have extremely high rates of sexual assault, molestation, but also birth trauma, right? So many women have birth trauma and it gets brushed under the rug because you have a healthy baby and we move on.
Right.
Yeah, menstrual trauma. So, like, really debilitating symptoms, right? That isolate us and make us feel like we're broken. I know for me, with my really intense cramping, like it felt like nobody can help me, right? That in itself is a trauma. And not everything is trauma. I don't want I don't want people to get that message, but there's so many reasons we leave this powerful place in our body, and it happens for a really adaptive reason. There's nothing wrong with you if you feel like you're out of your pelvis. It's actually more common than not. And it is so worthwhile to take the steps you need to come back into an embodied relationship with this deeper part of yourself. And I could go on and on about that, but especially as we're
Yeah.
entering into peri and meno, if our nervous system is, functioning optimally, this is really going to support having more neural pathway to our tissues, having more sensation, right? So the body creates numbness in areas where it detects it's not safe to be. We've got to get out of here. And
Yeah.
when you are embodying your root, it really helps with rehydrating those tissues, with right having a sensation-based connection to your root, your pelvic floor, your vagina, your cervix, right? So prioritizing that is highly impactful, and yet nobody is being encouraged to do that. Instead, I think it's like, okay, there's a problem with this, let's fix that, without creating safety in being in the pelvis. So yeah, it can be highly
So
problematic.
so nice and slow, sort of tending to that area nice and slow, because I think the problem is when we start losing sensation and we lose libido, we avoid going to that area, for self pleasure. We
Mhm.
certainly might avoid putting anything inside because it's painful. But are you saying that that's what we need to do in a kind of safe, progressive way,
Yeah.
to sort of open the tissues up, to help the tissues feel safe, to just sort of almost like talk to the tissue and go, okay, I know this might be a little bit painful, but actually you're safe. No one's violating you. I'm here for you. I'm helping you. I want you to feel this pleasure. So there's like a dialogue between mind and body.
Yeah, I love that idea of a dialogue. That can be really powerful. I recently had a client who is in Meno, and she's having um, overactive bladder. And we had a dialogue with her bladder, and she has not had a symptom since our last session. We had just four
Wow.
sessions, so it was really impactful. And then for my clients who have pelvic pain in Meno or in any stage of life, it's so important to let the tissues at least rest. So a lot of my clients are going to see a pelvic floor PT, which I highly recommend. If you're not seeing a pelvic floor PT, they're going to have so much more information and can help you in a way that a medical provider is just not trained in. So a pelvic floor PT can teach you how to work with the tissues and to gently open them up. But I really love what you said, Sally, about making it more about a relationship versus like, let's just invasively go in there and stretch the tissues and manipulate them to open. Because this is a bit like our pelvic floor is a lot like a sea anemone sometimes. So like, when you touch
Okay.
them and they just curl in, it can kind of have that effect if we aren't establishing safety in our nervous system first. So this might look like connecting to sensations that feel good first, anywhere in the body. So right now I can feel some expansion in my chest. I'm going to breathe into that before I ever put my hands in my vagina, right? As a way to show my body what's going on right now is safe. And then for some of my clients, especially if you have a history of sexual assault, boundary ruptures with your pelvic bowl, you might want to leave your tissues alone for a while and
Yeah.
just tend to that trauma in your nervous system so that it can unfurl on its own intrinsically. So, really giving your
Yeah.
vagina a break, right? Instead of forcing her to open when she's really not feeling safe to. Um, I love pelvic steaming too, womb steaming, yoni steaming, bee steaming. There's all these different names. But it's such a gentle way that my peri and meno clients like just love for reestablishing more sensation and hydration, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I have done vulva steaming in the past, and I didn't really understand why I was doing it. I was told that it was a nice thing to do. It was like a
Mhm.
womanly thing. I think I'd gone to a woman's circle, and it was suggested
Mhm.
that we do yoni steaming. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure why I was doing it. It felt lovely. I have to say, it felt
Yeah.
lovely. Afterwards, everything felt very alive down there, and then I stopped. But I'm going to start that again because I think that's
Yes.
going to be so
It's,
wonderful to
it's
experience that, and as you say, just get that sensation going again. I can't wait. I'm going to
mhm.
do it. I've got some chamomile. Do you put some
Yeah.
chamomile flowers in or something?
Chamomile is so great because it's so gentle. Also, I am not an herbalist, but I am trained in pelvic steaming with Kelly Garza of Steamy Chick. And yeah, chamomile is super gentle. Also, rose is really good for the pelvic floor tissues. So if you have any rose, that can be great. Calendula has a really soothing effect on the tissues. And there's so many benefits to V-steaming. It's hard to list them all. I was averted to it for a long time because I thought that, oh, there's no research on this, so it's not valid, right? But I actually think that big pharma would lose a ton of money if we did the research on it, because so many women report such incredible results from a regular steaming practice. But what it's doing is, the steam itself is highly impactful, but in a gentle way, right? Instead of pushing and penetrating tissues, it is a gentle way to soothe the tissues, hydrate them, and there's heat, and heat can be a really lovely experience. I mean, if you've ever had a facial and they put the steam on your face, like, isn't that such a great feeling? Imagine that same feeling, but for the highly absorbent, delicate tissues of your pelvic floor, right? But this steam is also helping to lift, because what does steam or heat do? It rises. So it's this gentle lifting for the tissues as well. So if you're struggling with like prolapse or right atrophy, it can be really nice. And then the
Yeah.
steam is carrying with it all the medicinal properties of the herbs you're using. And so you can really
Yeah.
tailor the herbs to what your needs are. And you can think of your vaginal tissues, right? Like a lot like the inside of your mouth or nose. It's very absorbent. So it's absorbing all of those medicinal properties, and it can have such a profound impact on how you're feeling and how you're relating to that part of yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'm definitely going to start again. And how would one go about doing it? Like if someone's thinking, okay, I've got to get a bowl and squat over a bowl for like 15 minutes. That's going to be
Yeah.
hard. Are there things that
Uh-huh.
you can, tools that you can use?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the holding the squat for a long time either. So I get it.
No.
But I can guarantee that most people, unless you're like, I don't know, traveling about the world, you already have all of the tools you need to do a pelvic steam in your kitchen. And it's already there. If you have some tea, if you have a pot, some towels, maybe a robe, you're good.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there's lots of different positions that you can get in. My favorite is to put the pot next to like a piece of furniture, and then put two pillows on the side for your knees. Lean your upper body into that chair or couch or whatever it is, with your knees on the sides of the pot on the pillows. So it's like you're kind of on it's like a supported hands and knees. So it requires a lot less work from my experience. You don't need to go, buy a $400 box to sit on unless you want to. It's a lot more like making a cup of tea for your vagina than it is like some schmancy, spa treatment. But if you want to get your schmanz on and go to a spa, like go ahead. I'm not saying don't do that, but you already have everything you need. It's highly accessible, and yeah, a
Great.
lot of my clients in Meno have really, really, like maybe more than other clients, they have really, really loved it.
Yeah. It sounds very nourishing. And like I say, I
Mhm.
do remember that sensation of this is surprisingly lovely.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
wasn't expecting to
Hmm.
feel anything or for it to do anything. And just afterwards, this warmth, this kind of freedom, this warmth in that pelvic area, like, literally in that bowl, like underneath you. Um,
Yes.
and that sensation was so unusual and so delightful. Yeah, I just obviously stopped because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to benefit other than it feeling quite nice. But now, as someone that's going through menopause and struggling with some of these issues, I can
Yeah.
absolutely see why it would help to bring some of that sensation back. So yeah, in a
Yeah.
really gentle way. Because something else that popped into my head was, I remember when I went to the STD clinic, I can't remember, I must have been about 23, 24, maybe 25. I'd driven all the way there and I was having an examination. And as soon as she inserted her fingers, I started feeling really woozy. And I said to her, you
Yeah.
know what? I think I'm going to pass out. And I
Oh.
did. I absolutely
Oh.
passed out because I was hungover for starters, which didn't
Yeah.
help. But also, I think that, there must be a nervous system link when you go into that dorsal
Absolutely.
shutdown.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain a little bit what
Sure.
that dorsal thing
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
for people that are
Yeah.
wondering?
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, Sally. So if we go into polyvagal theory, I'll give just like a brief kind of summary of what it's all about. So you have a vagus nerve. It is the longest nerve in the body. It's the 10th cranial nerve, and it runs from your brain stem, wraps around both sides of the body. It innervates the throat, all of the vital organs, the heart, the enteric nervous system, which is like your guts, your digestive system, and all the way down through the womb into the cervix. So there's different branches of this vagus nerve that have different effects. The safe and social state, when we feel connected to others, when we feel safe, when we feel like we're in the flow of life, this is coming from the ventral vagal branch, which runs supradiaphragmatically, meaning from the diaphragm up. The dorsal branch runs subdiaphragmatically from the diaphragm down into the pelvis, right? So when we have experiences that feel like too much, too fast, too soon in the pelvis, this most often shows up as the high tone dorsal state, the freeze response, maybe some shutdown, the vasovagal response as well. So passing out, fainting, right? Because if we think about the pelvic floor tissues, yes, they are designed to open, to let things in, to let babies out, but they're highly protective as well. The tissues of our vulva, our vagina, our cervix are kind of like these gatekeepers, right? And they're responding to when we feel like I'm not ready for penetration, I'm not ready to let my cervix open and let my baby out, right? And so when we slow down to actually notice whether we feel safe, even in something as simple as like, well, we consider it to be simple, like an examination or a pap smear, right? We think, well, this
Yeah,
is routine. This is me taking care of myself. It's good for me. And it is. But the body doesn't understand that cognitive frame. It
right.
only understands sensation. It speaks sensation. So even if we're saying, this is good, I'm fine, I need a pap smear, our body is still experiencing what it perceives to be a boundary violation. And
Gotcha.
so it will, like, I remember the first time I went to the gyno, and they were like, you need to scoot down more. You need to scoot down more. You need to scoot your butt down. And I couldn't. Like, no amount of explaining to me was going to allow for me to, right? Like, just scoot all the way down and just open up wide. It was my first time. And there's an important reason that's happening, and there's nothing wrong with you establishing safety, noticing where in the room when you look at someone or something you feel that sense of okay, I'm okay. That's going to be
Yeah,
much more effective than just thinking okay, I'm going to get this over with and right, move on.
yeah,
um yeah.
yeah. Just sort of sending that up. Yeah, like so. with a view of trying to feel. It sounds so counterintuitive, trying to feel, but being
Mhm.
able to establish a feeling of this is okay. I
Mhm.
don't know, like maybe if we're used to opening up our pelvis like voluntarily on our own. I know this is probably going to sound stupid, but is there a way of like finding pleasure when we're having a pap smear or when we're having an examination down there?
Yeah, I teach people all the time to connect to a felt sense of pleasure because pleasure is a micro downregulation in the nervous system. And women
Okay.
physiologically have more of a need for those micro downregulations. And so, absolutely, you can connect to. And when I speak to pleasure, what I mean is like when you feel a spontaneous visceral sensation of expansion, typically is
Mm.
in the body. So maybe, as I connect with you, Sally, I feel like my diaphragm is nice and open, my belly, I'm not like sucking in my belly, I'm letting it just like take up space and soften. And then when I say that, I feel like some expansion actually in like the back of my pelvic bowl. And this is me connecting to pleasure. This is me establishing safety in my nervous system so that,
Yeah.
there's more flow and more ease and accessibility in our conversation. And it might sound like I just have some magical gift of connecting with sensation, and maybe you feel like you're further away from it. I had to work on this. This is not, it's not like I just woke up one day and felt my whole body. It
Yeah.
took time and it takes practice. And even just taking little micro moments throughout your day, whether you're getting a pap smear or you're just like sitting at work, to slow down and be with those sensations will help to
Yeah.
really open up more relationship with your body. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny actually, because since I've been sat here talking to you, I've been like just really relaxing into my pelvis and letting it
Mm.
all hang out a little bit and just sort of opening my legs a little bit. And
Yeah.
because usually I sit up quite, and I'm quite kind of, held, I suppose. But
Mhm.
you have this wonderful way about you to just sort of make me feel a bit more melty inside. So I love
Melty is a
that.
good
You
word.
Yeah, I think it's so, um, you hold space in a really beautiful, permissive way. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I can totally understand how you get the transformations that you do, because actually just being the energy that you're wanting to pass on to others is super helpful because they co regulate, I guess, with you in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Our
Yeah,
nervous systems are always in dialogue, and
yeah.
co-regulation is such an essential ingredient to our healing that I think we don't hear about in a hyper individuated culture. Like if you log on social media, it seems like you just need to heal on your own, take this list of things to do and just do it on your own. When
Mm,
physiologically we are primed for connection in order to feel safe, especially if you're in a female body. So,
yeah,
if you think about the way our bodies were designed to tend and befriend and bond on a deeper level, because we give birth, because we have babies, and sometimes, right, we don't, and that doesn't mean that you're excluded here. But we have this innate drive towards bonding. We have higher rates of oxytocin. And so for women, tending and befriending through co-regulation is a vital resource to
mm,
our healing. And I like to call it womb co regulation. Whether you have your womb or not, right? I really think we have lost this rite of passage of birthing and bleeding and moving through menopause together.
yeah.
So bringing that back is huge.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, let's wrap things up. I think this is a really good
Yeah.
place to wrap things up. I do just want to finish on something around pleasure and something around how we can make menopause better for ourselves. So
Yeah.
I don't know, can you just riff a little bit on pleasure, like how important pleasure is, how we can get more of it in our lives, the benefits of pleasure? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to. So we all have a different relationship with pleasure. Even that word might kind of stir something up inside around it not being okay, it not being something you deserve, that it's trivial, it's something you have to earn, when in reality, pleasure is available to us all the time, in every moment of our lives. We can connect to our senses, our sensuality, because really sensuality is just fully engaging with your senses to experience pleasure and support our nervous system, support the transition we're in as women. And this is
Yeah.
not spiritual bypassing. This is not me going just sugarcoating everything. This is a felt sense experience in your body. And it is what actually primes your nervous system to deal with the bigger stuff, the activation that is inevitably going to come up. So, really slowing down to be with pleasure, whether it's those subtle sensations or spending time with yourself and exploring pleasure sexually or with a partner, is really going to help your system move through the transition in such a profound way. And when I say sexual pleasure, there's a lot of focus, I think, on orgasm, and that's great. And I'm all for having all the orgasms. It's really nourishing for our body and our tissues. But even just the subtle sensations in sexual pleasure are a great place to start. Just noticing, right, contact, how things feel on your hands, the skin to skin contact, right? Taking that
Yeah.
slower is really going to help your system open up to pleasure in a titrated way, in a gentle way, where things don't feel rushed and forced and like we're just, trying to get to a destination. There's more of like a slowing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. I think it's so important because, especially as we go through menopause, sex changes. It's not necessarily about the wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it can move in sort of slower directions. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that's not okay. Of course,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, if that feels right for you, then go for it. But if you can't do that because of vaginal atrophy or
Mm-hmm.
painful sex, it's like understanding that other forms of sexual expression are valid as well
Yeah.
as acts of pleasure. It doesn't just have to be, again, that sort of hyper masculine shagging. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that really
Yeah.
is the feminine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just finally, then, how can people find out about you? Where are you most active on social media?
Most active on Instagram. You can find me at Waking Womb. And I also have my website, waking-womb.com. I have some free resources on my Instagram if you go to my link in bio, and lots of exciting opportunities to work together coming up. So thanks so much. And I hope to connect with everyone.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, do check out Veronica's Instagram. It's a wonderful resource. I actually go on it from time to time and just absorb some of the carousel posts that you've got, the longer form posts. They're absolutely fantastic. You're so wise, and you are really a gift to women and women going through the menopausal journey. So thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Yeah, Sally, so lucky to be able to talk to you, and thank you for doing the work you're doing in the world, because it is so needed and such a gift to everyone. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica. So I'd love to know what your biggest takeaways were. Be sure to leave a comment below and subscribe, like, and share. Just so you know, not all podcasts are uploaded here. So if you want the full array of episodes, head on over to Spotify or Apple and search The Menopause Mindset. You also might like to come and find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn or TikTok. Just search at Sally Garozzo Mind Mentor. All right, folks, thank you so much for your support and attention. It means the world. Have a great week and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.